I gotta talk about because nobody else wants to talk about. I'm the only person who knows how to talk about Apex Sapien, the greatest to ever do it. Ask your mama, ask your daddy, ask your granddaddy, ask your auntie. They all know I'm the best, baby. Today we gotta talk about risk aversion versus risk management. So I had a young lady ask me. She said, "You're so risk averse. You're scared to do everything." I said, No. You got the game bleeped up. I like to manage my risk. See, there's a big difference between risk aversion and risk management. See, in life, you have to understand the fundamental principle. Fortune favors the bold, but fortune will escape the foolhardy and stupid. So what that means is you have to be measured in how you choose to take risk. Not all risk is good risk. You got to look at it between the difference between a gamble and a risk. And a lot of people like to gamble, and very few people actually like to take a risk. See, here's the difference. See, when you're gambling is a win or take all. You either get something or you get absolutely nothing in return. You don't even learn a lesson. You just get fucked over. But what the thing with gambling is you can win very, very big. And that's why gambling has the gambling fallacy where like gamblers will keep on betting because they keep thinking they're going to hit something. They're always going to think they're going to hit. But if you do the math on it, it's like if you flip a coin 50 times and 49 times it comes up tails, you still have the same percentage of it coming up tails as opposed to heads on the 50th flip. It makes no difference. Now, the probability of you hitting tails 50 times in a row is very, very low because it's like 0.5%. I mean, it would be like 1/2 to the 50th power, which is like 1 in, I don't know, fucking a million, some shit like that. But the reality of nature is every time you flip that coin, it's a 50-50 chance. Wait, hold up a second. Yeah, so a lot of these people, you're just gamblers. Gambling. Now, there comes a difference. Risk. See, in life, you have to understand the fundamental principle. In life, everything is risky. But the greatest risk you could take in life is never taking a risk. And that's where most people get confused because they see risk, they see things around, they're scared to try it because they're scared of what might happen. But what you start to learn is if you start to do risk management, which is you sit back and you kind of look and say, okay, if I choose to take time and energy to go in this particular endeavor, what is the payoff for myself in the long term? And so what you come to understand is the longer the timeline for a particular risk, the greater chance of it being successful. See, what most people mess up with risk is they try to make quick decision risk and try to get massive payoffs. But here's the thing. Anything that's going to have a massive payoff in a short window of risk is going to be way low percentages of being successful. This is why, like in business, there really is no such thing as an overnight business success. It doesn't happen that way. In business, you're taking a risk, but it's a long-term risk. You have to plan out 5, 10, 15, 20. In most businesses, you're not going to turn a profit literally to maybe like after your third or fourth, fifth year. So when you're going into business, one of the things you have to be able to manage is your capital. Your capital is what's your lifeblood of your business. So it helps to have a war chest, have credit, have a stockpile of resources that you can have that take the blows when things go bad when you're taking risks. Because one of the times you learn in business is like when you're taking risks, there's going to be mistakes that are going to cost you. It's inevitable to get around that. Unless you have a senior advisor that is telling you how to do it or how to walk through it. If you don't have one of those, you're going to fuck up. It's inevitable. But if you want a senior advisor, you have to have the capital to pay somebody that's an expert in whatever particular field you're doing. And so, like, I was explaining to the young shorty, because she said I was risk averse. I said I'm not risk averse. I take a lot of risk, but I'm very calculated in the risk I take because I look at what is the payoff, what's the timeline, and how does this make sense over the long haul of the game. Like, for example, I was explaining to her, I moved from Southern California. I was living in Southern California during the pandemic, and I saw the writing on the wall in Cali. I said, look, I can't afford anything out here. I can't afford rent. I can barely afford my car, gas, food, lodging, traffic's fucking horrendous. I said, I can't keep living like this. Something's going to give. Either my car or my mental sanity or my home or my income. Something's going to break down if I don't get out of here. So when I realized the writing on the wall, I said, okay, I got to make a change. And what that change was putting all my stuff in a vehicle, strapping on the top of my hood of my car, and driving to Austin, Texas, with no plan really in mind besides figure it out when I get there. Because I said, whatever I'm doing here, it has to be better in Texas. Because living costs, job opportunities, tech bubble, everybody's moving over there. It's a hot metropolitan city. And because I took that risk of going from California all the way out to Texas alone, I developed myself into a better person because I had a long-term strategy. My strategy was not come out there in Texas and just whatever, figure it out. No, I said, whatever I'm doing in Cali, I can go do it in Texas. If I can rebuild and do the same thing I was doing in Cali in Texas, I will have better long-term success. And now what I'm trying to develop, what I'm trying to determine now what I'm trying to kind of find out is I was absolutely correct with that risk. It was a good payoff because that risk allowed me to basically create this YouTube channel that you guys are watching right now. That risk allowed me to develop my business as a handyman. It allowed me to meet and network with a bunch of other different people that put me in great positions, got me great memories, higher places, more access to things I would never ever have access to because I took a risk from going to Cali, coming all the way out to Texas. And the same thing with my business. I was working a very comfortable job. I loved my job I had. I had a job as a STEM director at a nonprofit where it was comfy, making $3,600 a month on the hour, every hour. Basically ran my own schedule, did what I want to do, build my own program, had almost complete freedom. But I saw a long-term problem. I said, this is very risky the longer I stay here because the people who run the organization might not be around forever. And when those people are gone, I'm going to be stuck like Chuck. I'm going to be ass out. So I realized I have to figure out another way to make income for myself. Not just a job. I need a way that I can make income for myself. Because if I can't make income for myself, I am in deep shit. So I started my business, Dr. TV Mounts. And that business, started from the ground up, taught me many lessons, taught me how to be mature, how to be on time, accountability, strategizing, being creative. And I got to meet so many other different people of walks of life. And what I began to understand is business is not about the money. Like, don't get me wrong. Business is about money. But a lot of times when I'm going to start preaching to people, a lot of people, if you're in business, the goal is to sell out. The goal is to go out there and meet different people. And as you meet different people, you're able to build connections that will get you to another stage in life. Not all your businesses are going to be successful to the point where you make a bunch of money, you can retire, so forth and so forth. But what business allows you to do is gives you freedom of time. And that freedom of time allows you to meet other people who have freedom of time. Or people that have higher leverage positions because you're doing work for people. People have to afford to pay you because you're doing luxury services most of the time if you're in a business. So when I realized my business is good, but there's another issue because now I have a lady and I want to have a family, I said, holy shit, I got a problem. My business is good. It's great for me. YouTube is great. I can go do side stuff, but I need something that's a lot more stable. I need a greater foundation because I need a foundation in order to build a family. It's very difficult to try to run a family on a business because business is a very chaotic game. It's waves. You never know. You have ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. Now, you don't really want to have too many downs when you have a family that you got to take care of and a wife and kids. And when I start to see the writing on the wall, I said, fuck. I said, shit, I got to think of something else. And that something else that came along my pathway was a gentleman that introduced me to the military. He said, go in there, try to figure out the military, check it out, get your score, see what you can do. Now, I'm looking at the military as the military is a risk because I'm betting my life that on the outcome of what I'm able to do within that period of time, I'm going to have a better payoff down on the end. Now, once after doing measurements and researching and taking into the risk, okay, what particular jobs I don't want to do, what I don't want to get stuck with, what's going to give me the best chance for a career, so forth and so forth. When I was able to identify those particular things that I would get out of it compared to the risk, I said, that is a good bet. I'm willing to make that risk, take that chance, and go into the military because I know on the back end, I'm going to have a much better outcome as a result of my life. compared to what I'm doing now, because I could choose to be stuck in today's age, which is doing my business thing. But if I get hurt, if YouTube shuts me down, if my car blows up, anything fucking happens, I'm ass out. And so one of the things you start to learn as you do risk assessment and difference between risk assessment and risk aversion, you are not a coward for not taking every fucking opportunity that comes your way. Some opportunities are better to pass on, because when you look at the long-term play of it, you have to look at the outcomes. Is this what I want as an outcome in the long term? Do I want to deal with this long term? If that's not something you want to deal with long term, you're better to get out the game than stay in it. Because there's no point in taking risk after risk after risk over and over and over again for an outcome that is very unlikely to happen. You want to stretch your risk over time. You want to mitigate it. And the best way to mitigate risk is increase the timeline. The longer the timeline, the less the risk can fuck you. It's more spread out. When you spread that risk out, you have a less chance of things going bad. But when you try to take all the risk right up front, in hopes of this massive payoff much quicker, you put yourself in a bad situation. That's normally what a gamble is. So you want to steer away from gambling and learn to practice risk management. And if you learn how to do that in life, dude, you're going to be successful. But the best way to learn how to do that is by taking chances. You got to take chances when you're younger. And that's why they always say, as young guys, take chances doing things, because you got time to recover. The more time you have to recover, the less the blow hurts when you have a fuck up or something like that. But anyway, appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you.